You know that one nagging injury? The one that just refuses to go away no matter what you do? It's just stuck? Well, what if you could reboot your body's healing process, just like you would a frozen computer? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into a technology designed to do exactly that: shockwave therapy. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the problem itself. That incredibly frustrating, all too common feeling when an injury just will not get better, no matter how much you rest it, stretch it, or, well, frankly, wish it away. I mean, it's a question that can drive you absolutely crazy, right? You feel like you're doing all the right things, but the pain just hangs around for months, sometimes even years. Why is it that our bodies, which are usually so amazing at healing, sometimes just give up on one specific spot? Well, a lot of the time, that injury gets trapped in this nasty, vicious cycle. So it starts with the initial injury, of course, but if the healing process kind of stalls out, it never fully completes. This leads to what we call chronic degeneration, where the tissue actually gets weaker, and that, you guessed it, results in persistent pain, which throws you right back to the beginning of the loop. If we zoom in and look at what's happening on a microscopic level, things have really gone wrong. Your body starts laying down this messy, disorganized scar tissue instead of that nice, healthy, aligned tissue. Adhesions can form that kind of glue things together and restrict your movement. And worst of all, the blood supply to the area just dwindles. And without good blood flow, you can't get the oxygen and nutrients you need for repair. The whole engine of healing has basically just run out of gas. But what if we could jumpstart that engine? This is where we make a big shift, from talking about the problem to talking about a really cool potential solution. A way to kind of reboot your body's entire approach to that old, stubborn injury. I absolutely love this analogy because it is just so perfect. We've all had a computer freeze up on us, right? You're clicking a mouse, hitting the keyboard, and nothing. That's your chronic injury. The healing program has crashed. This therapy is basically the hard reboot. It sends this powerful signal that tells the system, hey, shut down that faulty, stalled process and let's start fresh. So, what is this reboot exactly? It's called radial pressure wave, or RPW shockwave therapy. And let's get one thing straight right away. Despite the name shockwave, this has absolutely nothing to do with electricity. Zero. It's a purely mechanical acoustic wave. Think of it as a physical pulse of energy that's applied to the skin to restart the healing process deep inside the tissue. And the origin story here is just fascinating. This technology was first used back in the 80s to break up kidney stones, but doctors started noticing this bizarre and pretty wonderful side effect. When the waves passed by a person's hip bone on the way to the kidney, the bone actually started to grow stronger. That happy little accident kicked off decades of research, which is what led to its use today for all sorts of stubborn tendon and tissue problems. Pretty cool, right? So, we know a mechanical wave can reboot the system. But what's actually happening down at the cellular level? How does a physical pressure wave convince your cells to start healing again? Let's get into the science. The magic, if you want to call it that, is a process called mechanotransduction. Now I know, it sounds super complex, but the idea is actually really simple. It's just the body's amazing ability to turn a physical force, like this pressure wave, into a chemical signal at the cellular level. Essentially, the shock wave is knocking on the cell's door, and the cell answers by firing up its internal repair machinery. So, this cellular repair machinery gets to work on three really key tasks. Angiogenesis starts building new blood vessels, which is like creating new supply lines for oxygen and nutrients. Collagen synthesis starts manufacturing the building blocks of your tendons. And stem cell activation, well, that's like calling in the expert construction crew to oversee the whole project. It's a total renovation happening at the cellular level. Okay, this all sounds pretty great, but it's not a magic bullet for every single ache and pain out there. So the big question is, who is the ideal candidate, and which conditions tend to respond the best? The perfect candidate for this usually has a problem that's chronic. We're talking it's been hanging around for a while. It's for those really stubborn issues that haven't responded to other treatments. The therapy also works best when you can pinpoint the pain with one finger and say it hurts right here, and when that tissue is pretty close to the surface. And here are the greatest hits, so to speak. Think about those classic nagging tendon issues. Plantar fasciitis in your foot, tennis elbow, jumper's knee, that stubborn shoulder pain. These are the exact types of conditions where the healing process has often just stalled out, and the tissue needs that powerful reboot signal. Now, it's really important to manage expectations here. This therapy is fantastic for breaking up scar tissue and waking up those sleepy, poorly healing tendons. but it's not going to fix a completely torn tendon or reverse severe bone-on-bone arthritis. Think of it as a regenerative tool, not a structural replacement. So, what's it actually like to get this treatment? I get it. The idea of a pressure wave can sound a little intimidating, but the reality is actually pretty straightforward. Let's walk through it. During the treatment itself, the goal isn't to be totally pain-free, but it's also not meant to be excruciating. The clinician is actually aiming for a sensation that you'd rate about a 4 out of 10 on the pain scale. It's a very specific, manageable level of discomfort that tells them they are right on the money. This is probably the best description I've ever heard. It's not a sharp or scary pain. It really is more like a very, very focused and intense massage, right on that one knot that's been bugging you for months. And that discomfort, it's actually good feedback. It confirms that you're stimulating the exact tissue that needs that reboot. And what about after the treatment? You'll likely be a little sore for a day or two, kind of like how you feel after a really tough workout. This is a classic case of hurt does not equal harm. In fact, that soreness is a sign of success. It means all those repair processes we just talked about have been kicked into high gear. All right, after the treatment, this part is absolutely critical. You want to avoid any anti-inflammatory medications like ibuprofen, and you also want to avoid icing the area. Now, why is that? It's because the therapy works by creating a controlled pro-healing inflammation. If you take an anti-inflammatory, you're basically stopping the very process you just paid to start. Finally, and this is super important, we need to put this treatment in the right context. It is an incredibly powerful tool for sure, but it's really just one part of a larger strategy to get you to a full recovery. The best way to think about it is that shockwave therapy creates a window of opportunity. It reboots the tissue and gets it ready to heal, but it doesn't magically make that tissue strong overnight. It's the catalyst that gets the whole reaction started. The best, most lasting results always come from a synergistic approach. The shockwave reboots the healing. Then you need proper load management and corrective exercises to rebuild the tissue strength so it can actually handle daily life without getting hurt again. And when you pair that with things like chiropractic adjustments to make sure the joints are moving right, you create this comprehensive plan that leads to real, lasting change. So for anyone out there who feels stuck in that cycle of chronic pain, where healing just seems frozen, the question isn't just about managing the symptoms anymore. It might be about finding a way to press that Control-Alt-Delete and give your body a fresh start. So the only question left is it time to reboot your healing?